This is BJ Fessler from trouthacker.com. This video that we've supplied here is a fly fishing intro into what we call Western Czech nymphing or Euro nymphing. It's a term that we came up with in terms of Western Czech because there's a lot of stigma behind exactly what is Euro nymphing and what is Czech nymphing. We'll talk about it in the video as it progresses. But some of the things we wanted to go over in this introductory video is what are the Western Czech principles? What are the basic mechanics, casting styles? How do you set the hook? A cool new method of downstream nymphing that we call the Downfeed. The setup, philosophy, how-tos, the difference between Euro style and strike indicator. Is it high sticking? Well, we'll talk about natural drift, and then we'll also talk about the benefits of Western Czech. The gentleman in this video, his name is Danish Fessler. He is amazing. He is a wealth of knowledge on not just fly fishing and nymphing, but this strategy of Euro nymphing, what we call Western Czech. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you learned something. Please leave comments, subscribe, and enjoy the video. All right, we're fishing from the bank. We're on the Henry's Fork. It's probably like 6:30, probably, Dane?
Yeah.
6:37. Daner's got on still got those emerger patterns on?
Yeah.
What do you have on?
Emerger and print.
So is the print your top fly?
Yeah, it should be the other way around.
An emerger on the bottom?
Yeah.
We'll give it a go. He's fishing Euro style with the exception that the sinkers are on the bottom. The split shots on the bottom versus having the nymphs on the bottom. And that's just more of a style thing, I think, than anything. I personally, I don't think that is a major differentiation between Czech style and not Czech style. But that's just a difference of opinion. It's a drop rig system, I guess is what you'd call it. Some people do. I'm going to show this video again, but on mute. It really looks like he's high sticking, but he's not. We'll explain why as this video progresses. But a couple of things that I wanted to point out here. We talked about the flies that he's using. What we have found out after doing this for years is the type of flies, oftentimes, it doesn't matter as much as your natural drift and your line mechanics. Those are probably the most key elements of this type of fly fishing, right? The fly line that we use is a very, very thin diameter. So it's a little bit different mechanics than probably the traditional methods of fly fishing, methods of nymphing that you're going to be used to. However, pay attention to some of the next clips we're going to show you and on what Daners is talking about here. I'm going to show two photos here in just a second on the actual length of a natural drift that we're getting on every single cast. So this photo right here that we're going to show you is going to show the entry point of the flies into the river, which is about 65 feet away. Now we've tested, measured, using math, the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? On the length of our drifts. It's going to depend on the size of the river, obviously, but in rivers like this, the size of the Snake River, we're getting anywhere from 70 to 100 feet of natural drift, flies on the bottom, through the water column. Much greater distance versus some of the other traditional ways of nymphing. One thing, and I'll repeat this over and over again, a thin line is critical to overcome that difference between that fastest surface current at the top and the slower water near the bottom where the fish are going to be feeding, where the fish are going to be caught. So you can see in the second video or the second photo where his flies are ending. It may look like his line is dragging right there, but believe it or not, he's actually getting a pretty natural drift on those flies. So like I said, you're going to get 70 to potentially 100, 120 feet of natural drift. That means the flies are in the target zone. They're in the water column. They're on the bottom. They are in the fishes right in front of their noses from the minute the flies hit the water. Oftentimes, we will get strikes upon mere seconds of our flies entering the water. I'm actually gonna, there we go. I wanted to back up and see how big of a drift he's getting, but he actually caught that one right in the zone. You saw it was almost perpendicular to where he's standing to the current of the water. So I mean, we got a lot of hits that are gonna come there and then below there, but just like that, baby. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. So I'm gonna show this video again. There to go. I'm gonna mute it. I'm gonna put it on loop. This is what I want you to watch for as you watch this repeatedly. Watch his line slightly hesitate right before the strike. Notice how he sets the hook. He doesn't rip it. It's just a slight lift of the rod. Now, the reason why you set the hook this way is because the Euro line has a super thin diameter, as I mentioned, 0.5 to 0.6 millimeters. Has a very, very low stretch and has a very solid core to it. And so those fly line traits, those characteristics, it makes your line hypersensitive, and it allows for really quick hook sets. And these properties also make it easier to detect line movement in the water for potential strikes. You're not always going to feel the fish take. A handful of times you're gonna see the line move. Sometimes it's gonna go. There's gonna be a slight slack in the line. Sometimes it'll move upwards, but you gotta watch it. It's not always feeling it. And once again, reiterate: a thin line is critical to overcome that difference between the faster current on the surface versus the slower water near the bottom where the fish are going to be caught. And so, like I said, in a lot of cases, you're going to feel the fish take, but I want you to pay attention to the way that he sets the hook. It's just a slight little lift of the rod. Going to get caught up. It's funny, I told him last time that he cut that one too fast before I could film it and kind of explain. One reason why we like this tactic a little bit better than striking indicator, one of the many, many reasons, is because of the length of the drift that you get when fishing. So hopefully if I back up, I can get a pretty good look at this. I mean, you can see his flies are down there quite a bit. I mean, you can see he's going all the way up there. I mean, that's a 20-25 yards of casting upstream at least, and then he'll actually let this, and he's got a technique. We're actually going to do another video to explain this technique, what he just did right there, how he fed out land. It's kind of a downstream feed. We don't know what we'd call it yet, but we'll have another video to explain exactly what this is. But you can see big long upstream casts, getting it out in this current. And so, like I said, the benefits of that is you just get more. You get more stream. You get more distance on this fly, and quite honestly, with this kind of style, you're actually getting a longer, better natural drift on the fly than you would with an indicator. There you go, my man. Here, I want to get a good look at what you're fishing with, just to kind of give our, so bottom fly, is it that Prince nymph? Oh, yeah, it's kind of a
double Prince.
Okay, so from this fly here to this fly here, what, 2 feet maybe, 1.5 feet?
Yeah.
Distance, length on the tippet, 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches. Split shot below, bada bing, bada boom. We'll actually have another video where we explain this whole setup all the way. And I've been criticized multiple times at this fact that I have sinkers and they're below my flies. It's not Czech style, it's not Euro style. That is not a debate that we're gonna have, nor do I wanna have, but stay tuned to a video. But this next clip, pay attention to what we talk about. This is where Daners gets into the philosophy, the how-tos. Pay attention to this wisdom that the Daner's about to unleash here. Okay, so what exactly are you looking at when you throw your line out in the water? You're upstream. Explain the process. Explain to me what's going on.
Well, immediately I want to get line control. So sometimes I'll do a pile cast if I want it to sink really deep.
But what ends up happening is I sacrifice then the fill of the nymphs and the sinkers going through the bottom. I don't have as straight a line. If I want a really tight line and I want to fill everything, I'll actually pull my line tight after the flies hit the water.
The minute it hits the water.
Yeah, so it'll straighten it out.
So right away you're in the zone, ready to set a hook if you have to.
Yeah.
Versus the pile cast, it's got a bunch of
line piled up. And what it does is it stops your line from the current from pulling any drag on your line, so you get a straight shot to the bottom.
Flies from the bottom right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So I kind of pull it tight.
Yeah. So what are you looking for? So you're watching your line? Because we've talked a lot about, like a lot of times I feel it. You know, a lot of times I'm feeling the fish hit that fly, hit that line, but I also watch my line. Explain to me.
Yeah, so when a fish hits, usually, I mean, you can kind of distinguish it because it's quick little jabs. The bottom will do that too. I'll set the hook anyway, just because all I'm out is a few feet of line and another cast. And it really depends, like when I'm on the Robinson or I'm on a smaller creek and I'm not using sinkers to like immediately get me to the bottom, I'm working the fly through the water column. That's when I'll key in, because the sinker's not tapping rocks as it's going down. It's actually in, you know, the water column. And that way, when the line jumps, I know it's a strike. I'll set it. So I'll actually fish Czech style, like on the Robinson, but I'll only be fishing in the bottom third. Or
You got drakes mating.
Right there, yeah. That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. That's pretty cool. Try one of those ones. So really, it kind of depends on
This I'm more
big river
feel.
versus small river.
This I'm more feel than sight, but I'm always watching my line.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like that too. I'm more of the, I'm watching my line. I'm also waiting to see if I can feel something too. You have to watch the line. I mean, yeah, you have to all the time.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this style of nymphing is
We call it Czech style. I mean, Euro style, Czech style. We just kind of joked a minute ago. We're going to call it Western Czech style because I put up a video and I had some people, it's not Czech style. You gotta, and like I said, it doesn't matter. But, you know, we're going to do a separate video on this technique that you're just doing right there. He's going to, I wish you could see. I wish we had a pretty good, wish we had a way to get some depth to see how much longer of a drift that you're getting on these. I mean, you're up 25 yards, aren't you?
Oh yeah. You know, that's one of the advantages of this style too, because if I'm standing here with a strike indicator, effective way to fish, fun way to fish, but I'm only fishing 15 to 20 feet out. You can't manage that much line and get a drag-free float. But you know, you look,
how much line? So just to kind of get, he's ready to cast. His fly line is actually the tip of his rod. How much line do you have out?
Probably. Well, I'm fishing short right now. When I first got here, just for the purpose
30,
of the video,
35, 40 feet.
Yeah. So I can nymph fish midstream with this style, and you're not doing that unless you're in a drift boat. Yeah. You know, and
midstream and this.
You're talking 50 feet right there. I can high stick it, and we've caught fish today doing that.
Yeah. Like I said, if you watch that at the end of his, as soon, how far down? I don't want to like give people the false notion. How far down when you pull that downstream method that you do? When your flies are down past you, what? Just depends?
It depends. 15 to 20 feet on average.
Okay, and we'll show again, but like I said, we're going to do another demonstration video all by itself to kind of
give you an idea.
So you see he's got a good 6-7 feet of line hanging down
Right
this fly line, and then he feeds it through. And then he lowers his cast. I'll go do another one. Just missed one. Dang it. We catch a lot of fish on that drag.
Yeah, and it's really not dragged. What?
It's not drag. You're not dragging. Oh, you just caught one right there. As we were dragging our flies, saying it's not dragging, we caught one on the drag.
He's a little lacquer.
Little bugger.
But he's a trout nonetheless. In here.
A brown?
A little brownie.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Future generation.
All right, so before we interrupted from that trout hitting your fly, we get on to talking about what we were talking about. I said it's on the drag. It's really not on the drag. That was
Well, on the tail end it is. Absolutely.
what we're doing
So-
right now, stripping it in, yeah.
What it is, so your line comes through the water and kind of bends up. What it's doing is it's kind of doing this as you're floating through your drift. And when you pull that line out and then feed your line down with lowering the rod.
So it's still a
actually
natural.
It's actually a loop and you're still next to the bottom. And when that's starting to straighten out, it's dragging. But you'll get a good 20 feet where there's just a belly. You're upstream from it, but you're still fishing it relatively drag free. And the key is it's right there, right in that cushion on the bottom. You have that 6-8 inches, sometimes 12, where the cushion, the water's actually the drag on the bottom is slowing the water down, kind of like a wave works in the ocean.
Yep.
So you get that cushion. They can sit midstream right on the bottom and not have to exert that much energy. That's where your flies are, in that zone.
So for all intents and purposes, even though the flies are downstream 20 yards from your point right now, you're not dragging them at
No.
all. Whereas some of the other traditional ways of nymphing, you'll get that. And if you're doing that, the potential to drag your flies is pretty high.
Yeah. Well, and I used to fish with a sinking tip and high stick. This is similar to that, but the diameter of the line is so much bigger that it drags your flies, and that's what makes the.
Yeah, and we'll post a little picture right here on the right corner with the size of one. There you go. Yeah, just right here. I mean, you caught that last one, what, 10 feet, 15 feet in front of you maybe?
Yeah.
Versus we've caught them 30 feet out there. Watch, see, right there. See, right there. Just feed. So explain that. You just kind of lift your rod tip and feed line at the same time, or?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because you want to keep the line moving with
natural.
The water. So what I'll do is I'll show you. So 2/3 of the way down, I'll just reach down and I'll kind of pull a line out and then grab it with my finger again and then lower the rod. And it just gets your flies in more, your drift is longer.
I mean, you're adding 30% more onto your drift,
yeah.
Right? At least. And that's why, I mean, I just barely started to pick it up, and I'm noticing now, I mean, you're adding, with me, you're adding 30% more drift, but I'll be honest, I bet 10% of the fish I catch at least are coming off of that downstream technique that
I don't lose a lot of them because of the hook angle a lot of times.
Yeah.
You don't set the hook.
It's harder to set the hook.
Right.
Who gives a hoot? I mean, you get one on, at least it's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can figure out what they're feeding on too, so. And that's the game. So about 2/3 out. Watch his left hand. Boom, he feeds it out. The rod tip kind of comes up. You don't want to pull the flies.
No.
When you pull that rod tip up like that,
Just
you
feed
pull the
them.
rod tip up so you position yourself to lower the rod to get you more drift.
So you're feeding your slack out as you pull the rod back.
Yep. Feed slack out through your hands. Just pull the rod tip up.
talking about earlier, one of the things I love about fly fishing is, you know, the big loops, and it's really an elegant art form. But as far as like a numbers game, percentages, getting your fly in front of more fish at a quicker pace.
Yeah.
This, I calculated the other night I was doing it, and I figured, you know, with my back casts and my roll casts, and especially at the distance I'm fishing this, I'm getting 3 casts to 1 with the strike indicator.
Which means
floating
you're
line.
exerting more energy.
Yeah.
More pressure on your back.
Right.
Your waist. I mean.
Yeah.
So you could argue it's you can get more. You can get extension of your fly fishing life.
Right.
Right now, I mean, you're not getting as much exercise.
And you know, fatigue does set in, especially when you're fishing all day long.
In a current, waiting.
But I mean, if you really want, you know, your numbers to go up as far as fish you're catching per hour, per day, I mean, this is a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
It's cleaner, you know. But like I said, I still love that, you know, the dry
Oh, it's
fly.
fun. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about one of my best moments is working a brown trout. He's up on Warm River. He's about 20 inches. Dry fly, crystal glass, glassy water. And probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I worked it trying to catch him. It was a dry fly. It was one of the top 5, top 10 moments of my life, fly fishing. So, but I like that. It is a numbers game. Everything, the amount of time it takes for you to tie a knot, to get the fly on, to, you know, everything. It's a numbers game. Really hope you enjoyed this video. There's a lot to absorb here. We're going to do a part 2 of this series, really break it down into its basic parts. But once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the show. If you have any questions, shoot us an email at trouthacker@gmail.com. I'll put that email address below on the description. Also, we want to build a consortium, a community of fly fishermen where we learn from each other and we can grow from each other. So I'll have another link there to our, not necessarily a website, but a platform called Slack where we can learn from each other. A lot of good stuff. We're hoping to build this thing out, not necessarily quick, but effective. So once again, thanks for watching our video on Western Czech nymphing and the Downfeed explained.